Hi, I'm Jimmy. Do you know I'm also a mermaid instructor?
And welcome to the Ugly Diving Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ugly Diving Podcast. We have an amazing person here today, no other than the famous Jimmy Choo. Welcome.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you for having me here.
you're most welcome. Jimmy, can you just share a bit about yourself?
I started diving since 1990 in my naval diving days. I got a free open water course from the Navy, and then that's how my diving career started. And in 2004, I find that diving beyond military, I start to involve in recreational diving. So I joined to become the dive master and then the instructors from SSI. That's how my career start again, my second career as a recreational arena. And then I like technical diving. I joined INTD to start my technical diving and also introduced to recreational rebreather. And then I participate in other kind of diving like ice diving, cave diving, and so on. My last educational platform will be GUE, and it really changed my perspective about diving. After
Right, that's really cool. I think we're in very special suits, so I think the people at home are very interested to find out what we are actually wearing. Maybe you want to talk a bit about that.
okay, what I'm wearing today or us is our dry suit. So in the early days, a lot of people think that wearing dry suit in our country, our region is like you're gonna get heat stroke, but actually it's not. Dry suit actually keep you dry, no keep you warm. What keep you warm is actually the undergarment, right? So this is a dry suit.
So for those who cannot see the podcast, right? He's actually in a very striking red, which is his signature. So how I met or I know of Jimmy Choo was that we were on a dive trip. I was on a dive trip separate from him, but I saw somebody in a very good-looking red suit. So that's how I actually noticed him, and like that's how we got to know each other as well. So if you guys are going out diving, always look out for this red suit, and you know it's Jimmy Choo. So, Jimmy, I heard that you're also a mermaid instructor. How does that come about?
You are right. Because I find that in life you have to experience different things. So I have these opportunities to get involved with the mermaid training program. So I thought, hey, maybe I should instead of technical diving, I should switch my job and become a mermaid instructor. So I took part in the mermaid course and also the instructor course.
All right, awesome. Hopefully, one day I can see you in a mermaid costume as well.
No, one day you will do the mermaid course with me.
All right. I heard that you've done a lot of amazing dives because you go through ice diving and cave diving. Do you have any like special dives that is very like close to your heart that you want to share about?
Wreck diving, the HMS Repulse, I think it's a turning point for me during this dive because anything that can go wrong, it go wrong on that dive.
Oh my god. Okay.
So if you know about repulse, the depth is about 50 over meters. It's technical diving, and then that particular dive, I make a lot of mistake.
Okay.
All right, I mean it's very rare that one dive, two diver run out of gas at the same time, and we have to omit the deco. So that dive, there's a lot of lesson learned, and also make me think about what kind of diving I want to do. I always think that diving is very simple, just strap a cylinders and then go into the water. But until I encounter that dive, I think otherwise. That's why I pursue the diving education with GUE. I find that diving should be safe, it's guaranteed. You cannot, like buying lottery, hope that you can surface safely. I find that that is not the way. And then I restart my diving all over again.
Are you okay to share a bit more about what happened during the dive?
Sure. On that dive, first dive, I carry a double tanks and then nitrox 50 and oxygen. So we follow all the protocol. We descend to 50 meters, we proceed against the current. Let's go to the stern of the repulse. Then we take photo at the propeller, happy. And once my gas reach two-third, which I mean, well, let's say 140 bar, we make a U-turn back to the ascent line. And then from the ascent line, we go to 21 meters, we do a gas switch using 50% nitrox. And then at 6 meters, the boat actually provide free oxygen at the deco bar. So I don't breathe my oxygen because it's free, right? So I breathe from there. And then by the time I finish all my deco and I resurface, my back gas is plenty of gas. And then I'm not using my oxygen. My nitrox 50, I still got 150 bar.
Oh
So I
wow.
find that it's a kind of waste of effort to
Mm,
surface so early.
right.
So second dive, I decided to change the rules, become half rules.
Okay.
And then I don't want to carry my oxygen. I want to travel light because I have oxygen free of charge at 6 meters. So I just carry the 150% nitrox. And then now we decided to go back to the same place and take more photos. So this time round, instead of 140 bar, I checked my gauge about 100 bar, and then I decided to U-turn and go back to the ascent line. And I keep diving towards the ascent line until I see the bow of the repulse. Then I realized that I lost my way. So I decided to swim back to the ascent line, but this time around the current had picked up. It's become very strong. So I have no choice. I tell my buddy, hey, let's deploy SMB at surface. So I deploy SMB, and then we go to 21 meter and we do a gas switch. And this time around, the deco become longer because this is a second dive and the bottom time is increased. So, and then we do all the deco to about 12 meters. That's where my nitrox 50 completely zero. I have to switch back to my back gas. So remember the back gas I also use quite a lot. So when I switch back to my back gas, I look at the pressure gauge, it's like 50 bar. And but at that point in time, I start to anxiety, right? So my breathing, every breath I take, the needle actually moves. So about 9 meters, we both of us run out of gas. We have no choice but to surface. Luckily, the boat tie a line to our SMB. So after we surface, we see the boat is like so far away. And we are worried because we already omit the deco. And I have to pull the line towards the boat. So along the way, I have to think for solution, right? So I think, okay, once I reach the boat, I go to hold my breath and go to the 6 meter and turn on the oxygen and then do a deco. Last time we don't have the show waters or those technical type computers. So it's more like based on guessing. So since I'm from the Navy, so I just breathe the pure oxygen for 45 minutes. So I breathe 45 minutes and then I surface. And I stop the dive for that trip. And I have a deep thought. Of course, I monitor myself for signs and symptoms, drink a lot of water. I'm safe.
That's
Yeah.
great news. Maybe you want to share a bit about rebreathers because you mentioned briefly, right, just now about rebreathers. What is a rebreather for those who do not know?
Rebreather is like a recycle system to recycle your gas. Open circuit, when you breathe out the bubbles, all the gas will expel from you, but as a rebreather, it's recycled. So the advantage of rebreather is cost saving. You save gas. So recently I went down to 75 meters with two open circuit divers. For them, at 75 meters, they carry 5 tanks, total 5 tanks. And they only can spend 15 minutes at 75 meters. And guess how much they pay for their trimix?
Oh, I have no idea. $200 maybe.
It's near to $700 or
Wow.
more.
Okay.
And with the rebreather, guess how much money I spent on my gas?
I would say almost the same amount. No.
No, it's less than $50.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's the advantage of rebreather.
So if a person will want to switch from open circuit to a rebreather, right? Is there any breathing differences, or what's the biggest difference that you'll feel between open circuit and a rebreather?
even a very experienced open circuit divers, when they want to cross over to be a rebreather diver, it's like day one in your open water course. Your buoyancy, you have to manage your buoyancy. It's a new systems. So you need to have very robust diving experience and skill before you go into rebreather. And you got to ask yourself why you want to use rebreather for. For you as a photographer or videographer, you can go very close to the marine animals. Then you
Okay.
can capture outstanding photo. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That's something probably I would want to try. One of the reasons why we have you on the show today is because we've heard rumors. We want to clarify today. We heard that you went to like 100 meters underwater, which to me sounds insane. Just for those people who are new to diving or who have no diving experience, an open water cert probably gets you to about 18 meters, 1/8. And advanced in today's context is either 30 or 40. But Jimmy over here has done 100. Can you tell me more about this?
A few months ago, the dive center owner want our assistant to search for the lost boat underwaters. So we decided to plan a dive to 100 meters. And of course, we choose the type of gas, we carry all the bill, and we slowly descend from the shore all the way to 100 meters. And then we found a boat and we take some photo. Because of the time we spent at underwaters, that incurred a lot of decompression stops. So we have to do multiple stops. So we spend about 30 to 45 minutes at depth. And then end up, we have run time, the total time is about 6 hours. And the last stop at 6 meters, we got 140 minutes. It's crazy.
What do you do during a deco? Because you're saying like what, 120 minutes, is it?
140 minutes
140 minutes, yes.
at 6 meters.
Yeah, so what do you do to keep yourself entertained?
We know we use the rock to build sandcastle. We swim around. I can recognize all the fish underwater, and the fish can recognize me for that duration. Play games with my buddy, with paper, scissors, stone, all that stuff. It's so bored. I think the next time if I go back again, I would wish that we have the iPhone so that we can watch a movie underwater. I
Prob-
think, yeah,
Maybe you can either watch this podcast, review
definitely,
this,
yes, you are right.
or you can maybe watch different movies, right? If
Yes.
it's like 140 minutes, that's about 2 hours ish.
2 hours, so it's good for at least 2 to 3 episodes.
That's great. So back to your memorable like dive. Is there anything during your Navy days that actually is probably one of the most memorable things for you?
I still remember it's Christmas season, and suddenly we get activated for the search and recovery job for the MI 185. I believe you heard about that.
Yes.
So as a diver, of course, this is a national event. We are very excited, and then we fly that. I'm the second group of the divers. So when we reach there, now we can smell all the burning smell, and we have our counterparts and Singapore Navy. And the water, after you descend about 0.5 meters, you think Pulau Hantu is bad. Wait till you go there. 0.5 meters, what you can see is like milk tea. That's all. You can't see anything. And once we reach the bottom, because it's a river, so the current is very strong. So we have to put one hand inside the mud and the other hand we search. So what we actually looking out for is a black box.
Right.
And of course other stuff. So for me, I found some bones like the joint, and I feel something like a spinal cord, and I feel, the shape of the spinal cord. So I tell my buddy, hey, let's go up. We find a spinal cord, and then we surface. So by the time we surface, it actually turned out to be the coconut leaf. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the visibility must have been atrocious if that's, you couldn't even tell what is it. So you're basically feeling your way around this. So, okay, I'm not sure whether you're allowed to share this, but I'm just curious, how many divers were on this, dive as well? And do you manage to retrieve in the end, or do you manage to complete your mission?
We managed to find the black box, I mean, with our counterparts. And we actually activated almost the whole naval diving unit to go for the job because it's a tragic and we want to play our role for this so that the family have a closure.
Yeah, I think that's important. So thank you for your service as well. There's also stories about a very famous uncle. I'm sure you know who we're talking about. Can we kind of get to know a bit more from you about him, as well as what he meant to you, as well as how does it impact your diving life as well?
Okay, like talked to you earlier, right? I want to go into technical diving.
Yeah.
So late Mr. Koo is my mentor, my trainer, my mentor, and my friend. So I learn from him. So after we do the advanced trimix CCR course, we go for fun dive at the Seven Sky. You heard about Seven Skies at Anambas?
Yes.
Yeah, it's no longer there. So the maximum depth is 67 meters. So that day, I still remember is 8th of May, 2010. The weather is fantastic. The sea is calm. And then we take a boat out there and we dive. So during the first dive, we went all the way to 67 meters. So once we finish our planned bottom time, we decided to surface for our decompression stopped. So about 39 meters, I show him, I point to him, where's the boat? The visibility is fantastic. At 39, we can see the boat. So I point to him, there's the boat. So the split second when I point to him and then I look at him again, he's not moving. I'm, I'm glad that he have super good buoyancy. He stay at the depth of 39 meters and then I approach him and then I perform my rescue on him. So at the point in time, actually, I have three options, right? Because we already dived to 67 meters, we have to do decompression stops. So in my mind is, should I just inflate the BCD and let him float up? Or should I tie up my spool line and inflate him so that I still in control on him? And of course, the third one is I omit my deco, I bring him up. So yeah, I mean, at the split second, I have to take care of my own safety and also as a buddy, as a responsible buddy, right? I need to, my concept is leave no man behind because
Yep.
I'm from the Navy, leave no man behind. So I take calculated risk and then I do a slow ascent together with him. So luckily, on the surface, all the boat crew and other divers are very responsive. When I splash water, they jump into the water and then tow back late Mr. Koo. Once I see Mr. Koo be towed away, I return back to 21 meters again to continue my decompression stops. It took about more than half an hour. And then after that, when I surfaced, I still continue to do CPR on him. Yeah. So unfortunately, he did not make it. So that is the dive. So after the dive, of course, in psychologically, I think I asked myself, did I did anything not right? Or did what should I do right to save his life? But after do, do some self-reflection, I find that I do what I need to do. The rest, I will leave it to the God. So I think that's critical. So as a rescue divers or any diver who perform rescue, I think psychologically you have to manage yourself very well. You do what you can. So proper training is important.
Yes. So proper training is something I think everyone should go through, especially scuba diving is quite a dangerous sport, I would say.
It is.
Yeah. So don't always neglect, like, you know, all these proper trainings and stuff. Our producer, who is actually also a diver, wants to do tech, right? So I think mentally, how can they prepare, or what can they expect from a recreational leisure diver to become a tech diver?
I mean, as a trainer, I have many inquiry about technical diving. A
Mm.
lot of recreational diver, they want to cross over, become technical diving. So I find that the very first thing is your skill,
Mm.
meaning you need to have good fundamentals or foundational skills before you
Mm.
embark to technical diving. There's no shortcut in technical diving.
Mm.
So knowledge, skill, equipment, and experience. You
Mm.
need to build your experience slowly, step by step. So I would say that first focus on the basic fundamentals.
Has teaching always has been something that you wanted to do, or is it something that you just wanted to share your experience and through teaching you are able to do that?
Because I also be teaching in a naval diving unit, I enjoy diving and teaching. So teaching is I find that people need to start to respect diving, like how they respect skydiving. It's a dangerous sport, so you need to learn proper skill, proper training. So my role as a trainer, I think, is to bring this part, the missing part, to the rest of those who are interested in diving, to close the gap. I want to offer quality training to all the divers. Sometimes I find that diving accident happen because of two. One is ignorant, they are misinformed, and the other one is a choice. They know, but they choose otherwise. Yeah.
So, Jimmy, with a wealth of experience, right? What is your next dive checklist for you?
The next checklist, I would like to go to Cyprus and dive in the ferry wreck. I think it's very interesting. It's huge. And I guess the feeling must be diving inside the Titanic. I think so. So yeah,
Right. So I'm sure like you will need a team for this, right? To dive the Cypress, right?
yes.
Because my producers are really excited and they're pointing to themselves behind the camera. So hopefully, you can help us get there.
I'm more than happy so that you can take nice photo and nice video for me, right?
Yes, that will definitely be the trade-off.
Yes.
So the next thing I want to ask is because I'm a fairly new diver myself. Yes, I've been certified for a while, but I only took diving a bit more seriously last year. And I wanted to find out from you because you've been diving for what, 30 years?
33 years.
33 years. So what's the biggest difference between 33 years ago and today in terms of the diving? Let's talk about recreational first.
Recreational. I think in terms of education, it have evolved. Last time training is like strap the tanks and go to the water. I think now I can see the differences in education. People start to be more serious, I would say. They're more focused on techniques, fundamentals, and the next thing will be equipment. Now you are spoiled by choice. You have so many equipments that make your dive much more simple and enjoyable. But that equipment is a double-edged sword. Some equipment actually take away your awareness. We should use the equipment, but at the same time, you should have that kind of awareness so that it complement each other and make your dive safely. And diving is not like once a year thing. You need to keep diving. So it's experience. You need to build your experience. So to summarize all this, I would say that we focus on education, experience, and also the equipment.
All right. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for spending your time here. I really appreciate you sharing all these stories. They are very inspiring. And for those at home who wants to look out for Jimmy, look out for a person in red because he also runs Red Scuba. All right. Thank you so much, and I'll catch you next time on the Ugly Diving Podcast. See you.